up, everybody? Motherfucker, it's your host, Pato Morningstar, your friendly neighborhood foul-mouthed podcaster. And this is the H.O.T podcast, the Heads or Tails podcast. You know, the one where we flip a coin, have two different topics, and then we let fate decide what's going to happen. Well, that's normal procedure, but right now, what I'm doing is going to be called a recap. Because we try to transfer the files from one podcasting platform to another, and the sound quality was not up to par. So what had happened is I'm going to recap the last 3 episodes and tell you, more or less what went down. Episode 1 in the H.O.T podcast was called Hello. At that time, I was feeling like shit because I had a bad sinus infection, and I feel like that motherfucker doesn't want to go. I mean, it's been, 3-4 weeks now? 3? And I just can't seem to shake it off. So, yeah. I'm just, trying to... what can I say? I'm trying to... this is distracting me. Let's lower... Oh, right. So, okay, enough music. Even with the auto-ducking, it's distracting the fuck out of me. So, I'm gonna just shut it off and begin this story. So, we started with hello, where I introduced myself. I'm your friendly neighborhood foul-mouthed podcaster, Pato Morningstar. I told you how I got the nickname Pato at work with a coworker picking on me and just being an asshole and me not reacting to his bullshit, and my friends looking at that, or my coworker friends, whatever you want to call them, seeing that and noticing that I had no reaction, that everything just slid off my back like water on a duck, decided to start calling me Duck. And then the same coworkers, Caucasian coworkers, decided that because I was Latino, instead of Duck, I should be called Pato. So, long story short, 15 years later, Pato. And then I started podcasting in 2017 with K-Dog because I was going through some shit. My father had just died, and I needed an outlet, something to keep me from, something that helped me get through what I was going through at the time. And podcasting was I want to say heaven sent, but it is what it is. So anyway, I did what I had to do. And at first, because of, a lot of religious conviction that was still there, which is no longer there, I didn't want to be behind the microphones talking shit, because I didn't want Jeebus to hear me and then whip me with this big stick all the way from heaven. So what I was going to do originally, I was going to ghostwrite material for K-Dog to talk shit. I figured, hey, he can go to heck. I'm just saying, just messing around. But what I'm saying is that was the original plan. But as it turns out, I said that motherfucker turned out to be shyer than, he talks, for someone that talks a lot of shit, he was shy behind the microphones at first. And I say at first because the motherfucker's come a long way. Hey, I'm pretty sure right now he gets behind a microphone and he'll talk all kinds of shit without even thinking about it. But back then, and I don't know what it was, maybe if, we become self-conscious of what if my mom or my dad hears this? What if my kids in the future hear this? Well, and then I don't know what it is, but, for someone that came up with a name like Cursory Overload, I was like, motherfucker, you're shy. So anyway, we were supposed to do separate podcasts and then find out and then do one together. He never did his. We ended up doing Cursory Overload. I was talking a lot of shit. And that's how, how can I say this? Oh, that's how I became Pato, the ghostwriter first, because originally I was just going to ghostwrite shit for him. But that didn't work out that way. And then later on, the whole podcasting, talking shit, someone of, a very religious, I was having this conversation with this very religious person that was trying to make me see errors I was making and how I'm accountable for every word and all that stuff, that normally someone that thumps the Bible will throw at you. So I was telling him, man, this is an outlet I need right now because I'm going through this shit. My father just died and I'm trying to, this is an outlet for me to get through this. And, so my father, the word my father was brought into the conversation, and motherfucker trying to be in an attempt to be hilarious, in an attempt to be funny. He threw a Bible verse at me. That Bible verse that says, "You are of your father, the devil." So I was, me being the person I am, I'm like, well, I do talk a lot of shit on the mic, and well, now that you mention it, I mean, I am probably one of the many bastard children he left around, so I am Pato Morningstar. And Pato Morningstar was born, and I've been using Pato Morningstar ever since, and I have a lot of fun using that fucking moniker. So, it is what it is. That was episode 1, or Hello in a nutshell. The second episode, basically what I did, I flipped the coin because I was going to either talk about my religious deconstruction or talk about music, because the idea of, I don't know, it was one of those days when I was actually home and I went for a ride on the motorcycle, put gas in it, heard some old school music playing, and it gave me the idea. When I get home, I'm either going to talk about the old school music that I used to listen to back in the days when I was a youngster and I thought I was going to take over the world as a superstar DJ, or I'm going to do the deconstruction of my religious beliefs. It was heads, luckily, and I started talking about music, and that's where I talked about Rockmaster Scott, the Dynamic 3, The Roof is on Fire, and I found out that I could play music on the other podcast platform, Spotify. So I went ahead and included that in there. So The Roof is on Fire was one of the songs I played, and I was telling you guys how a lot of my music taste, I used to get from the radio, because that's how we used to download music when I was a kid. We'd sit for hours listening to the radio with our cassette tapes, and our tape recorders, ready to hit the button as soon as the DJ would shut the fuck up. And sometimes motherfuckers, right as the song was ending, and it was like a cool ending, they would come and talk over the song just to piss you off. Personally, I think they were in cahoots with the record companies, so that you would buy the original recording if you didn't want someone talking over it. But that's just that's just me, That's just a conspiracy I'm throwing out there. But anyway, what I'm saying that's what I talked about, how we used to download music, and that's how most of my music taste came. I was 11, 12, listening to KCCP here in Phoenix, Arizona. If you know, KCCP was the #1 hit music station. Hell, I think I even remember the name of one of the DJs. I think Bruce Kelly was like that. He was like the rock star there. It was him. I'm not even sure if Dave Pratt was part of it or he was 98. Well, Pratt was more of eventually he ended up in the KUPD, the rock station. But anyway, what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything, is that I talked about the music, and then I put my cousins from LA, Rick and Adrian, on blast for introducing us to the Two Live Crew. And then I played a Two Live Crew song, I believe that we all know we want some. You can fill in the blank. And even though I'm your friendly foul mouth podcaster right now, I'm going to refrain from doing some things. But okay, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck that shit. So anyway, I played Two Live Crew's We Want Some Pussy, because that was the first song that they introduced us with, it's because we were comparing songs who had the most cuss words and this and that. And we had like The Roof is on Fire and some Run DMC that, Run DMC had minimal cuss words, not that much. I guess they were trying more for a commercial vibe, because this is back then, when hip hop was just starting. So what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything, I totally put my cousins on blast for turning us into little pervs, and how from that point on we went on to collect music, do our own remixes in this little laundry room that was like 8 by 6. And I don't know how the hell we fit in there, and giving my other cousin, my twin named cousin, props, because that motherfucker has the patience, and he could sit there and piece together things just using fucking cassette tapes, and it would sound like professional remixes. I mean, that motherfucker has talent. Like I said, I got lucky once in a while, but scratching was my thing, but I gotta give props, credit where credit is due. So anyway, cousins from LA introduced us to the Two Live crew, who introduced us to spinning records, because come from a musical family. There's uncles that play in mariachi bands, and there's DJs. So music was always around. So I think I mentioned somewhere around there that in one of those trips when I was like, this had to be like 87 or 80, it had to be more like 86, 87. I don't know. Grandma and I went to LA, and we were traveling back on Greyhound, and the Greyhound made a stop somewhere where there's a store, and I saw the License to Ill Beastie Boy record, vinyl, the album. So I know Grandma didn't really listen to that kind of music. She didn't care for it, but she loved her grandson, so she bought me License to Ill. And I've mentioned it before, and I said it in the previous podcast, and I'm going to say it here. Your grandma may be cool, but she'll never buy you License to Ill vinyl record, cool. So when it comes to coolness, my grandma, may she rest in peace, rocks. Anyway, that's one of the things I was talking about. So that's the recap. And then, let's see, we played No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Also, I started talking about other forms of music, how we started going to the swap meets, going across the border, because across the border, the record shops used to have a treasure trove of bootleg shit. I mean, and we were like just getting all this stuff, like UTFO, Boogie Down Productions, LL Cool J, Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew, Ice-T back then when, before he was a movie star, when he was, before Colors too, when he was, the first Ice-T song that I ever heard was called Sex. It's like sex in the morning, sex at night, sex in the afternoon's all right. Ain't no man alive that can say it. I can't even remember the words, but that was an old school. That was the original Ice-T I heard. So, and it was all the music that we gathered, from everywhere before, because we really got into that shit. So, whoa. All right. So, at the end of that, somehow Afro-Rican, give it all you got came to mind. And I said, if I found the song, I would play it. Now, I wasn't able to find a compatible or a decent version of Give It All You Got, so what I did was play Afro-Rican's Let It Go from their, I guess it was like their actual LP, and after that, the recap, we went to the other episode where I talked about my 17-year-old graduating and gave big ups to class of 2023. And then I played Bowling for Soup, High School Never Ends. And after that, talked some more about the music. I talked about how when things got tough, I would get sent to Calexico to my uncles. And I said I was blessed to have two sets of parents, because whenever my parents got into it or split up or did something, they would ship me off over there, and I would go hang out with my cousins. And how sometimes you don't realize that the good old days, when the good old days are, and I remember I think back of those days with a lot of fondness, because, it's like, hey, those were the good old days. I just didn't know it when we were sitting there making music, remixing things, I don't know, daydreaming that maybe one day we would be the ones rocking the show. I mean, things don't happen the way sometimes we want them. Life takes twists, turns. But when it's all said and done, sometimes everything happens for a reason. And like I said, there's nothing I would change about my life right now, because wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't walked the path that I had to walk. That being said, okay, we went on to some more music, played some UTFO, Roxanne. Oh, I told you about how I got into scratching. You'll be illin'. I mean, I was walking by the record shop there in Calexico. They had the speakers up. And as I'm walking by, I guess I was going to go visit grandma. And I was walking from my uncle's house to my grandma's house. I was going, I was strolling, and then there's the speakers, and I just hear, yo, Jay, what? And that was the first time I heard a DJ, which was Jam Master Jay, may he rest in peace, scratching to actual words. I mean, I've said, we were used to the scratching like Herbie Hancock's Rocket, where you just hear shit like, but this motherfucker was scratching words. So that like blew my mind at the time. And I was like, 12, 13 years old. And I'm like, holy shit, you can do that? And I don't know how many records and how many needles I ruined for my uncle. May he rest in peace too. I love you so much and I miss you. And, but anyway, scratching became my thing. So anyway, motherfuckerettes, this has been the recap. And for episodes 1, 2, and 3 that I wasn't able to transfer successfully over here to the podcast shack. But this is what we're doing right now. Doing the recap, and going forward, we'll flip the coin, have the two topics, and occasionally there will be a challenge attached to it. Like I think on the second episode or third, there was a challenge attached. Somebody showed me this, like thinking that I wouldn't do it because I'm Hispanic, older, and maybe my macho-ness wouldn't allow me to do it. I'm too macho to do this. But there was a challenge basically of if you wouldn't date your female self, you need to lower your standards. So basically you scan whatever on this app and it makes a female version of you. So yeah, I did it. It's up on TikTok. It's up on Instagrams. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much episodes. Hello, music and memories, and the last one, and the beat goes on because I flipped the coin and I continue talking about music. So this is just a recap since I couldn't get those episodes here. Motherfuckerettes, thank you for being with me up until this time. Stick around. This is going to get fun. More challenges, more topics, and H.O.T podcast, the Heads or Tail podcast with Pato. Till then, you guys have a good one. See ya.